All right, we're calling this one Whipsaw Wednesday. Wild session today. Let's go ahead and break it down with a little end of day recap. Essentially, what we had here coming into today's session, we were looking to see whether or not buyers could continue to defend that overnight low that was made. As a reminder, essentially what happened here was following yesterday's daily breakdown of the near-term range, we did see prices trading lower in the overnight session. Our ultimate target, as posted yesterday and talked about, was the 4230 level. And again, that is the daily volume point of control from the tight range prior to the summer rally. So main watch today was pretty simple. Can buyers defend this overnight low? Simple as that, right? And so we come into the session, and what we have here is a test shortly after the open into Wednesday's low, or 42.77, excuse me. That was Wednesday's low. That's going to be a level of interest for the session. Initially, what we see is price rejected that level, right? You have a test of the overnight high. You see some weakness below the 42.77. Ultimately resolves lower. A lot of whipsaw here near VWAP. Quick note, when you have price rejecting resistance on a daily time frame after a big daily sell, you want to be careful with trying longs over here. You want to be careful when you have a big daily level being rejected, especially shortly after 10 a.m. So that was a tricky play. You can see how that played out in price there. Generally, you want to be avoiding those and looking primarily at your levels of interest, or looking at VWAP a little later in the day when you have more clarity on what the direction is. So anyway, once price rejected that 42.77, come down and get pretty close to that prior day low here. Not a true test. I prefer to see a true test in a scenario like this, a real test of the 42.50, 42.51 area. And so again, this is going to be a very challenging trade to take, simply because if you're long here, trading prior day low, you're opening yourself up to another 5 points of risk. So very tough trade. Big bounce materializes. Again, a lot of whipsaw, right? Once we start to get back down here into the session lows, this is where it starts to become more clear what's happening. We have a higher low developing on the session. So once this low is in, this starts to materialize and push higher back up through VWAP. Becomes clear that we're kind of developing a higher low, which gives us, more conviction that, okay, we can probably see a retest of this structure, maybe of session highs. What ended up happening was we get a push into, once again, the 42.77. Look at the last few tests of 42.77. You get a test here, rejected, right? Test here, rejected. Test here, not quite there, but rejected. Next test, well, yeah, we rejected a bit, but there's a lot of absorption there. See how it starts to trade in a tight range near that area of resistance? This is classic Wyckoff here. It's showing acceptance near that level of resistance. It's basically telling you, that's price telling you that, okay, it's most likely going to break out. Now, there were some other clues in here, like the Wyckoff spring, that can go ahead and add a lot of conviction to this play. But ultimately, point is that it resolves higher. We get a test of the 42.90. I'm treating this 42.90, 4300 as a zone. So as a prior support zone. Rejected on low volume, right? Start to pull back all on low volume, back into the 42.77. Once again, a very challenging area because now you're below the key daily level, but still holding VWAP, still holding prior day volume point of control, still holding that regular trading hours open, and structure is kind of favoring the longs here. This is another higher low, right? So another shakeout right through here before ultimately resolving higher. Definitely a more challenging session to trade, probably the most challenging session that we've seen in quite some time here, as far as the amount of shakeouts that were put in and just the different type of price action that we were experiencing. That being said, there was a lot clean setups if you were patient, if you knew what to look for. And so that is ES as far as the game plan for tomorrow. Essentially, to recap here, bulls have defended the 4230. It's tested overnight. See some follow through during today's session. Up through 4300 now. And so for tomorrow, depending on what the overnight session, what the overnight action looks like, we'll be looking at 4300. We'll be looking at that 200 MA. Buyers, bulls need to show follow through up through this 4300, right? Let's take it back to the daily chart here. So looking at this again, testing that big daily volume point of control, we bounce. Buyers need to show some continuation above the 200 MA and get us back into that range. Another important area to be watching for tomorrow. Now, if we do show that follow through, it's going to become more and more likely that this is the seasonal low. When we look at the seasonality chart, which was posted in the weekly kickoff, you can find it online really easily as well. Early October, you generally want to be looking for a low before a rally into the end of the year. And so there is some potential that this is that move. Might not be. We're just going to be trading the levels, but just some things to keep in mind. We've pretty much put in a pretty solid move over the past few weeks here. We're down, 7.5%. So it could be time for a bit of a bounce, especially with all of the volume that you have through here. So that was ES. The NQ setup actually a little bit cleaner today. Talked about this briefly in the end of day recap yesterday, just looking at this key area of support. 14,600. Once again, tested overnight. Daily support, right? Daily support. Buyers had to defend this level, and they absolutely did. So you have some pretty clean action in NQ today. Definitely an easier setup than ES. VWAP holds all morning, all afternoon. So definitely some cleaner action here in NQ. As far as what to look for in NQ moving forward, well, look at the daily here. Past 2 weeks, past week and a half. It's just a range, right? This is all barcode. So it's range trading still. I would probably, if you're trading NQ, you just want to treat it like a near-term range, just like this, right? Watch for a breakout in either direction. For now, daily support is holding. So that's the index as far as individual names. We're looking at ENPH. There was some, I don't really want to call it news because it was just an upgrade in the ENPH. And so with an upgrade on a stock that is pretty much trading, let's verify this. Yeah, we're trading at 52-week lows. You usually want to see much bigger volume, something like 2 to 3x or more daily average volume before trying these reversal plays. Something like an upgrade, not really going to bring in the audience that we really want to see. I'll keep this on the list. We'll double check it in the morning, see what kind of action we have. We also have raw blocks on here. Technical setup. So we're looking for strength potentially above the 29.7 area, up above the 50 MA. Start to stage a daily reversal on this one. RIVN. Looking for the short this morning, follow through on yesterday's daily bar. That never triggered. And actually what I did not know was that there was some news this morning on RIVN. I believe the CEO was out saying they have a path to profitability. They know what that looks like. And so that was some overlooked news on my part. Stock is bouncing on that news today. We'll just be looking again for some potential follow through of today's move. Either way, right now, this is a range, right? Can pretty much treat this just like a range. And so we'll see how it's looking in the morning on RIVN. And then for swing watches, we have AMD still here at the 200 MA. Would like to see a retest. We may not get it. Ideally, you want to be involved in this before it starts to resolve this downtrend higher. So that stays on watch. We also have ROKU. Setup is looking a bit better here. Remember, we had it through here, nailed that gap up. That was a phenomenal play. Structure largely remains the same, right? Big base, resolving up and out of the base, series of higher lows. So we'll just see how this kind of little area develops for a potential long there on ROKU. Shop as well into the 200 MA. That is a swing watch. So that's about it for the end of day scan. Definitely a more challenging session today. If you struggled today, don't beat yourself up. Action was not all that clean. A lot of shakeouts. Not seen that many shakeouts in quite a while. So something to keep in mind, the importance of risk management. You know, this morning in the pre-market prep, I mentioned it would be one of those sessions. You can go back and watch that recording. It would be one of those sessions where watching price at your proper location, meaning ideally a key level, is gonna be super important for the session. And so any questions, any charts you want me to look at before we wrap it up here? Is my chat even working? Yeah, it is. All right. AMD. Yeah, AMD, we're looking at the 200 MA. 200 MA for a swing. As far as a day trade, if you want to day trade this, Allen, look at it up through 104.7, 105 area. Potentially a bit of a change in character here on the near term. Marked a low down here, higher low, right? If we break 105, you have your change in character. So let's check out the semis. Yeah, semis held where they needed to. So that's worth keeping an eye on. You have big volume in the semis. AMD, what I'm really looking at here is this channel lower, right? We had some attempts. We've been involved in here a few times during this channel, but I'm essentially wanting to see how this breaks out, right? And I want to participate in the breakout of this move. So that's pretty much the idea on this AMD. Chris, saving questions for the mentorship group. Sounds good. Sounds good. Anything else? Alrighty. Well, thanks for jumping in, guys. Hope everyone had a profitable session. Looking forward to what we get tomorrow. Definitely, again, that 4,300 key area. You can see the volume already coming in here at 4,300. So we'll be looking at that, see what kind of overnight action we get, and then keep in mind a bunch of Fed speakers tomorrow as well. So have a great afternoon, and I will see you guys in the morning. Take care.